Hello, everybody. Broke Boy, and the Australian Open draw for 2025 just got released like a few hours ago, yesterday, whatever. And yeah, I've looked at the draw for about 5 minutes, and I don't really think I need to look that much longer because nothing is surprising, nor will anything really change in what I've said. I've predicted Yannick Sinner to win the tournament based on his draw. He can probably get to the final without dropping a set. Well, perhaps, he has Nicolas Jarry in the first round, a big hitting Chilean guy. And some people think, wow, what a dangerous opponent. I mean, not really, though, because no one really expects Jari to actually defeat Sinner seriously. He might end up taking the first set or something like that if Sinner is a bit rusty, perhaps. But then Sinner will warm up and he will win the match. Most likely the next three straight sets, if he even loses a set. And he can probably cruise to the final pretty easily. His final opponent can be, I don't know. I mean, anybody. Maybe like you can't even tell at this point because Alcaraz. I don't see him getting to the final. He has to get past Djokovic in the quarterfinals, which he can certainly do because Djokovic is washed, and I don't predict him to win another Grand Slam. I hope he does because I'm a Novak Djokovic fan, but I'm just not going to have him as the favorite anymore just because he's so old and he will have a hard time beating Alcaraz and Sinner, who are going to keep being in the way. So it's possible, and I hope it happens, but I don't predict it happening necessarily. So Alcaraz has to get past Djokovic in the quarterfinal, and then he has to get past in the semifinal probably Zverev or somebody. Medvedev, I think, is in the bottom half too. Somebody. I mean, Alcaraz will have a hard time against that potential semifinal opponent if it is Alexander Zverev, who defeated him last year and pretty easily. Actually, Alcaraz had to fight back, but it he was like he had to work very hard to win that third set, and then Zverev just won the fourth set routinely. So this is Alcaraz's weakest slam. Of course, he's Alcaraz; he can do anything because he is boy wonder. But it is still hard, and I will have Alcaraz losing in the semifinals. I mean, I do want Djokovic to beat him, but I will predict Alcaraz to lose in the semifinals as my prediction. And we will not have the Sin Caraz final that all of the fans want. I think Alcaraz will lose before getting to the final, and Sinner will win the final against whoever is. I really can't even tell at this point, but it doesn't matter because obviously there's no one that can challenge Sinner. So whoever ends up making it that far, he will just destroy them. So it doesn't really matter. It's going to be a pretty boring tournament, I think. I mean, interesting matches, interesting things going on. Not that much. Of course, I mean, I like to watch Djokovic, but he's not going to win, so it's still fun to watch him, and it would still be cool if he can beat Alcaraz, but I don't think he's going to win the tournament because he can't do crap against Sinner, just like the rest of the field. And interesting stuff. We have Nick Kyrgios, of course, returning to tennis. He already returned in the Brisbane tournament, where he lost his first match to the serving machine from France, Giovanni Impecci Pericard, who is actually playing another Frenchman, Gael Monfils, in the the first round, who is almost 38 years old, or maybe he already is 38 years old, something like that. That should be a somewhat entertaining match. I mean, doesn't really matter who gets through it anyway, because they can't do crap against Sinner. I mean, but yeah, and Djokovic possibly could face Opelka in the third round if Opelka makes it that far. It's not very easy draw for Djokovic. I mean, he is the seventh seed now instead of he's used to being higher. So that means he has to face Alcaraz as early as quarterfinals. Before that, he can have to face like Opelka or Mahac and then Dimitrov. But Dimitrov is shouldn't be that much of a problem for Djokovic because I mean he kind of owns him if Dimitrov even gets that far because you never know with Dimitrov. He could just get injured or something or just lose to someone random like Borges last year, which I actually kind of saw coming. In everyone, even though everyone was hyping Dimitrov because he won Brisbane or something, but the guy is never gonna win a slam. Let's face it. I mean, he's like 32 or something at this point, which is not super old, but he just doesn't have the mentality nor the physicality to win a Grand Slam title. I mean, he retires in like a lot of tournaments. Just as Brisbane, he retired. The U.S. Open last year, he retired. Probably retired in a bunch of other stuff. And if not, then he just loses because he's not that consistently good. So, of course, Dimitrov will never win a Grand Slam. Um, yeah, other interesting stuff. There was something else. Oh yeah, there was the super hyped kid, the 18-year-old Brazilian kid Fonseca, who he he is on a very hot streak right now. He got through his three qualifying matches, destroyed his opponents basically. He gave the first two opponents bagels and then the breadstick in the third opponent. So he got through that qualifying round very easily. I think this is his first main draw to slam actually. 18 years old, you know. And before that, he actually won a challenger title without dropping a set. So that was, I mean, that's kind of impressive, I guess, for, I mean, without dropping a set. Any title is very good. So he has won like 16 sets in a row or something. And he's on like 13 match win streak if you count. I think that's counting the next gen ATP exhibition at the end of last year, which is not really a real tournament, but he still won that. I mean, that's the only thing he's really won at this point because he's still super young and barely not played many main tour matches. But people are hyping him a lot because he's young and he has like a big game or whatever. He basically looks like a bulkier version of I mean, not looks like, I mean, yeah, like when he's playing, he kind of looks like a bulkier version of Alcaraz a little bit, or maybe a little bit of mixed with Alcaraz Sinner. Whatever, he just like has a big forehand, big game, moves decently well. That's, I mean, yeah, he looks good. He looks like he knows how to play tennis. Um, People are hyping him a lot because he's very young and because he's just explosive. So yeah, I mean, I'm not. He does look good, as I've said, but I'm not buying into this hype just yet, cause I mean, I have to see him do something first, like win it. Let him win a tournament first. It's not the exhibition, cause okay, like that's good, but let him win like a main ATP tournament, even if it's a small one, and then we will see. Or let him beat a top 10 player too. I don't know if he's done that. I mean, because he's barely played any matches, but on the main tour. But people are hyping him. So he did get into the main draw, of course, like I said, and he has to play Andrei Rublev in the first round. That would be a very interesting match. Probably one of the most interesting, if not the most interesting, first round matches. And I mean, I'm not buying into the hype, but like based on his results and what he's doing, I mean, it wouldn't really be surprising if he does end up taking out Rublev. If you recall last year, Rublev, he went to 5 sets in the first round against another Brazilian young guy, kind of young, not as young, of course, Thiago Sabos Wilch, or however you say his name. And Fonseca is better than that guy, or at least he looks like he should be. So, I mean, he could certainly take out Rublev in that first round. I would not be very surprised. Even though Rublev is still top 10, he kind of fell off, and last year wasn't really that great for him. So, it wouldn't really be that surprising if Fonseca does take him out in the first round. But after that, I mean, I don't see Fonseca going to. Obviously, he will not win the title, if some people believe that. That will not happen. He's not even won like any title except the next gen ATP finals. So he's not going to win the title. He probably will not get to the final either. What I think will happen is he will play some long 5 set match in maybe round 2 or round 3, and then the next round he will his body will give up on him and he will end up retiring. Because that's kind of these young guys that's kind of what these young guys do when they're like teenagers. They play some long 5 set match and they come out. But then they don't have really the stamina yet because they haven't played that long at this level yet. So they kind of just end up retiring in the next match. We saw this with Jerry Shang last Australian Open when he was playing Alcaraz in the third round and he retired there. He was a teenager. I think he's still like a teenager maybe. And we saw this with Alcaraz in the 2021 U.S. Open when Alcaraz was like 18 years old. He played 2 long matches in third and fourth round, and then he retired in the quarterfinals. So, I mean, I will. I think a similar thing can happen to this Fonseca guy who does look. He looks pretty good, I guess, but still, I have to see him actually do a bit more first. But nonetheless, it will be interesting. Unlike the majority of the tournament, because it will just be Sinner destroying everybody. But yes, I would love to see somebody take out Sinner. That would make the tournament a lot more interesting, because then the only other person who's won the Australian Open is Djokovic, I think, because I don't think anybody else from except Wawrinka, but Wawrinka ain't doing crap, obviously. So that will be interesting if somebody plays the match of their life and somehow takes out Sinner, but it sounds even weird saying that because the dude just looks invincible right now. But of course, anything can happen. We haven't seen much of him in 2025, or basically any of him, except for like some exhibition with Alexei Popyrin, which of course we won. So yeah, I mean, if someone takes out Sinner, I will become more interested in the tournament. We'll most likely have a first-time winner, unless Djokovic somehow magically wins. I mean, he's Djokovic, but I'm not predicting him to win. Even if Sinner loses, then I predict maybe Alcaraz will go a bit farther. If Sinner loses, then I probably predict Alcaraz to win the tournament. But with Sinner in the tournament, I predict Alcaraz to lose in the semifinals before reaching Sinner. So, yeah, Sinner, I guess, would be my first favorite, and Alcaraz my second favorite. And it changes depending on what happens. So, Alcaraz, I would say, is more vulnerable than Sinner. And, again, if someone takes out Sinner, the tournament becomes more interesting, at least for me. But I'm not predicting that to happen. I'm predicting Sinner to win for the second year in a row. And I would love to be proven wrong, but I'm not going to go against my prediction. So, let's see what happens. And yeah, looking forward to the start of the tournament.